Hello YouTube. First of all, I better explain there might be a little bit of a time discrepancy in my videos. The video I've just made, I mentioned that I was going to do a Q&A session, but I might upload this, which is the Q&A session, before the other video. So there might be a little bit of confusion when things get uploaded, but we'll hopefully work through it. So what I have decided to do is do a bit of a Q&A, because one thing I get a lot on my channel, both on the channel page itself, on the individual videos, and just to my my messaging account, I get loads and loads of questions from people, and I don't always have a chance to get back to everyone individually to answer everyone's questions. And one thing I'm quite big on is the idea of us sharing information, and a lot of people are new to the hobby. Everyone's got to be new to the hobby at some point, and there's no such thing as a stupid question. So I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from general answers to people's questions. So in no particular order, I've decided to run a list of questions that I tend to get all the time, and I will mention people's usernames, and apologies if you didn't want your name used, but obviously you've asked a question in a public forum, so hopefully you're okay with that. So if I take a question first of all, a nice straightforward one. I mentioned that I'm on several message boards or forums, and a guy called this is the other thing. People I'm going by their usernames on YouTube, and I'm not always going to know how to pronounce them, so bear with me. But this is from someone called WOSM Comic Book Guy, and he's asked what my comics price guide username is. I can tell you it's Kaecilius, spelled with a K, and that's Kaecilius, and that's the name that I use on most different message boards, so you could normally find me with that. So that's a nice straightforward answer. Another question I've had is, I get lots of questions about CGC books, so maybe I'll look at those quickly. A guy, again, don't know how to pronounce this, Bumsfob, something like that, has asked me about the value of CGC comics. Specifically, he said, is there basically an easy formula you can use to work out the value of CGC books compared to raw books? And at the time he asked, I would have said, in fact I think I did say no. It's not as straightforward as that, because it depends on the value of the book to begin with, so you can't exactly say that it's going to be X amount higher than that particular ungraded or raw book. But generally speaking, CGC books always sell for more than the equivalent raw book because of the lack of risk involved for the buyer. That's why CGC exists. So a third party has taken that book and said it is worth this much, then they've encased it in plastic so that you can't tamper with it, and then they have basically given it back to the seller, so the seller can only sell what they have said the book is worth, and what the book is graded at, and everyone involved has that kind of level of insurance. But it comes at a premium, because obviously that's a premium service. The seller, if he was the one that got it graded, would have had to fork out to actually get that service in the first place, so that eventually that has to be added onto the value of the book. Plus that peace of mind is worth more than a book which you have to take their word for it. So generally speaking, obviously it's difficult to say, but Comic Price Guide has now added a separate CGC value column to their regular unslabbed column in the price guide for all of their books. So they obviously have worked out some kind of formula, and from looking at individual books, it looks like they haven't done it on a book-by-book basis. They have worked out some kind of general market trend for how much it will go up in value depending on the grade. It soars hugely when you get to the whole 9.0 and above, really, because obviously you're getting into territory there where a seller who says a book is a 9.6 or a 9.8, you don't know at all. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure that CGC knows at that level, but for whatever reason, those books, when they're CGC graded 9.6 or 9.8, they become such sought after items, and the CGC value will accelerate away from the ungraded value, multiple times. So that kind of is a sort of a roundabout, confusing, probably not at all useful answer to that question. I think another question I had was a guy or girl, look by the looks of things actually. Oh no, I think that's a guy. Anyway, it's Super Big Al. I thought that I read that as super. It's either Super Big Al or Super By Gal 94. So whichever one you are. The question was, how much do you pay for CGC comics? Hopefully I've kind of explained that with that last question. And how do you do it in England? I can't find any way to do it. So generally, pretty much universally, I just use eBay for buying my comics. I have looked at Comic Link auctions, and there are a few other auction sites, and those might be a good way to go as well. But eBay's nice because it's very user-friendly and very accessible. And I think the way to do it is you need to have a few things. You need to have a huge amount of patience. You can't just, if you want to pay a fair price for books, you can't just jump on the first things that come along. You need to be very, very patient. You need to be very safe in the knowledge that as long as you're not buying, very early Golden Age books or whatever, another book is going to come along. So you don't have to feel compelled to jump on the first thing that comes along, because the chances are you're not going to find the best deal. You also need to do a lot of research beforehand and look at other sales, not necessarily just what a price guide tells you. Look at what they're actually selling for on eBay. Look at other auctions that have ended, things like that, and get a real sense of what the book is actually worth, its true value. And also don't forget to factor in the cost of postage, because CGC books obviously are bulky, and if you're going to import them from America or Canada or other countries like that, even Europe, they're gonna come at a premium with the postage. So make sure you don't pay too much for the postage to bring them into the UK. And there are a lot of CGC books already in the UK. So what you can do as well is to, if you're not prepared to pay those prices to import them, or to wait for the time it takes for them to get here, you can set your eBay search to only look for sellers in the UK. And that's always handy, because you know that you're going to be paying minimal postage, and the book is going to be coming from somewhere that's only a few hundred miles away. So that is my advice for buying CGC books. I've had another couple of questions that kind of tie in together. There's a question from someone called, I think it's Long Hunter. The question is, do you think that modern age comics or today's comics are worth collecting? I do not believe in collecting anything after around 1992. What are your thoughts, mate? So that was his question, or her question again. 1992. I'd be interested to know where you got that date from. Quite a specific year to choose as your cut-off point. It depends what you mean by collecting. I think certainly there are books that have come out since then that potentially are going to be worth holding on to. I think my Batman 608, for example, was kind of a good example of that. But I do think that the print runs these days are so high, and so many people are aware of the value of comics, that they're not really going to become hugely rare. I mean, you get things like Walking Dead issue 1, and maybe Chew issue 1, things like that really took off, that maybe people didn't expect to, mostly from sort of Image and publishers like that, rather than Marvel or DC, that become sort of cult hits, and obviously maybe get turned into films, or like The Walking Dead into TV shows. You get the odd gem, but I think generally speaking, for investment's sake, not worth doing. But for enjoyment's sake, yeah, definitely go for it. There are comics made, that come out all the time that are great to read and great to own, and if you like the artwork and everything else, and it's all about that rather than money, then yeah, go for it. So that's my kind of views on that. And another user, the Black Buddha, has asked, do you collect current books at all? And again, I'll say that I read the odd current book, probably nowhere near as much as I should, but not so much collect in terms of really look after and store for sort of posterity. I did for a while really kind of, get these books, treat them with kid gloves, put them away in Mylar or whatever, and then I suddenly realised that I should really be focusing my efforts on sort of Silver Age or Golden Age or certain Bronze Age titles, things like that, from an investment point of view. But I still like to own these books and read them, but maybe just treat them more as that kind of side of things for modern books. Another interesting question. I did a video, if you guys haven't seen, on comic book storage, and my approach to that. And a user by the name of Peon Sanders 911 has asked, you don't seal your Mylars, and is there any reason for this? Now, the Mylars that I use are 4mm by E. Gerber, or E. Gerber, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, and they are very, very rigid, and they have open ends, and they're not pre-folded or anything like that, so you kind of be hard pushed to fold them. If you folded them, you would put a permanent crease in the plastic. And from reading around, there's a few different opinions, and I think there was actually a whole forum thread on this topic at one point. And I might link to that below this if people want to do a bit of further reading. But generally speaking, the consensus has been, with not only comic books but with archival documents, they've left sides open, like 2 out of 4 sides open, so it's literally just a sleeve on certain documents. And other people have had books that they've left open-ended for 10 or 15 years, alongside books that are completely closed up, and where the bag's completely closed up, and there's been no difference really, because if you think about it, when you fold over a flap, it's still not airtight, air's still going in and out, so it really doesn't make that much difference as long as they're not completely open to the elements. Generally speaking, air is going to circulate, but the point is you've got your nice inert plastic there, and very importantly, you've got acid-free or alkali backing board, and sort of treasury paper and stuff like that in there to get rid of all the nasties. So keeping them open should be absolutely fine. What else have we got here? Okay, let's end with this one. I'll probably do another Q&A session after this, but we're coming up for about 13 minutes now, and I don't want to waffle on all night. So, do you know of any good or inexpensive Silver Age comics? And that comes from Marvel Man Matt. So, it's a difficult question really, because first of all, you can get most, if you look at even things like Amazing Spider-Man and Uncanny X-Men and Hulk, and all the kind of main Marvel characters, and I'm sure the same goes for DC, and we'll get onto DC in a moment. You can pick up low to mid-grade copies of most of the non-key books for very little really. They tend to be quite affordable. If you want to go for higher grade books, you can obviously be a canny buyer and wait around on eBay and sometimes try and pick up a bargain. And I'll maybe do a completely separate video on my eBay techniques, and how I go about trying to find the best possible book. In fact, I think that's probably a good idea. I'll probably do that for my next video. Another thing you can do is, if you're just looking for nice Silver Age books, you can look at slightly more obscure runs. For example, I've got some Captain Marvel books, he's not the most popular character in the world, but you can pick up a good condition issue 1 or issue 2 for comparatively not too much. Other runs you can look at, things like Tales to Astonish. The early books are quite expensive, quite valuable, but you can get the sort of mid-series issues and up for sort of mid-grade sort of condition for they're very affordable prices, and they include all sorts of characters, like in the early ones are Ant-Man and Giant Man, and then they go on to have the Hulk and Submariner and Silver Surfer and characters like that. And they've got some great covers, and to be honest, they're really not too out of anyone's price range, really. And the other thing to look at maybe with Silver Age is to go for DC books over Marvel, if you're into DC, because they just for some reason don't, even though they're actually harder to find a lot of the time, they don't seem to fetch the prices that Marvel do. Maybe to do with the popularity of that kind of era. I think maybe DC came into their own really when things shifted into the modern age and storylines started to get a bit darker, and maybe that's what DC does best. But maybe that's another story for another video too. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. I will be making more videos in the future. As I said, I have recorded another one tonight. I might put that up now. I might wait a day or two and then do it. And I was going to do some other bits and pieces as well. I was going to do a book review of a book I've read recently and some other things. So anyway, more videos will be on the way. And if you have any more questions, you can either send them to me privately or just post them on one of my videos or on my actual channel page, and I will be doing another Q&A session, and I'll try and answer those too. So till then, all the best, take care, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.